We've got them, they are in our hand. These are the new Look power meters. Been eagerly waited for these actually, and it's about time that Look really got these to the market. It's been in development for like 3 years. So I've literally taken delivery. This is going to be a live unboxing. My plan is I want to connect these to the app, show you guys what I see as we go through the whole connection process. And I'm going to go downstairs, put them onto my bike. I've actually got a turbo training session to do later, so I'm also going to run through the accuracy where we can combine the Tax Neo turbo trainer, the Quark power meters I currently have, and these all together on a screen at the same time. And we'll show you that. We'll come back, review the data. But what I'm most interested in is the setup and the actual sort of the usability, the day-to-day livability, if you like. That's what I'm most interested in with these, because I think we mentioned before, the Garmins have that battery cover, they come off all the time. The batteries are quite hard to get hold of. You know, you can't just walk into a shop and buy that type of battery. The Asimo ones, they are a little bit cheaper, obviously, but they don't have such the battery life. So there's quite a lot of reasons to be excited by these. First of all, a couple of key stats on the back. These are the dual-sided, accuracy plus or minus 1%. That's a massive thumbs up. The information you get, power, cadence, balance, you don't get all the cycling dynamics that you get from the Garmin ones. Battery life here, it says 60 hours. That's really impressive actually. The installation is quick and intuitive, although the fact that you've actually got to download an app is already a bit concerning. I'm not sure if that's actually something you have to do or just something that you can do. Interestingly, weight is just 260 grams for a dual-sided power meter. That is very, very impressive. Q factor of 53 millimeters, stack height of 10.8. Again, very impressive stats. So let's take a look. Oh, it's nice. So in the box here, we start off with a little card which you can scan and get to the app. This is as far as I've gone with this so far. So I've got that app installed on my phone just to save some time. And then this is what we get. So you get a pedal which looks incredibly similar to the current Look Keo. There's hardly anything on there that would suggest it's a power meter. It looks slightly bulkier around here, but otherwise it looks, you know, very similar in profile. There's this small sort of hard plastic area here with a couple of electrical contacts, so you can obviously tell it's designed for a power meter, but they are incredibly light. I really don't think they are really much heavier than a standard set of Keos. You obviously get a set of cleats in there, and you get these two little things here. And so these are the little charging bits and pieces, which I'll show you in a second. It's small, but quite an ingenious design. I like where they're going with that. And obviously magnetic. And then right in here, there is hopefully the cable. Yes, I think that is everything we need. Let's get rid of some packaging and take a closer look at these. So the cable you get is, it's an interesting cable actually. It is a USB-A for the charging side to a dual-ended USB-C. So the idea is out of one USB source for power, I've got this battery here, the cable splits, and from that you then have two USB-Cs, and these clip onto these little magnetic parts here. Now, one, you can just leave this like it is. But two, if you are traveling and you really need to be traveling light, you can probably get away with just taking one of these in your standard phone charger and charge one up at a time. You don't need to carry all this. You can literally just go traveling with that, which I think is mightily impressive. These just clip on here and the magnets just literally snap them into place just like that. And we can plug these in to our power source, see what sort of charge we have. So nothing immediately obvious to say that they are actually charging. Oh, there we go. Now have a little flashing red light. Nice, we've got a good visual indicator that something is happening. Right, while that's happening, let's take a look at the app. The app that you have to get, you have to log in with an email and password like you do with most apps these days. A little bit frustrating, but let's add a new product, and here we go. It's come up straight away. Let's come search for that. You'll need your pedals. Oh, I see. So the app is literally going to talk us through how to charge it like it wasn't already intuitive. Okay, I think I've already figured that out. Thank you. Before installing the pedals on the cranks, lightly grease the pedal threads. Yes, that's good to know. The left pedal is marked with a ring on the axle. Got a little notch in. I mean, road pedals are pretty easy to work out which one's left or right anyway, because your cleats clip in this way and come to the back, so it's hard to get them wrong with road cleats, but it's nice, especially for the mountain bikes. You've got that little indicator. That's good. Using a 15mm flat wrench, tighten your pedals to 30 Newton meters. Now, I don't know how precise you need to be with that. Let's just check that out. Quite a lot of torque actually. I'd be surprised. That's a good hanging off that really with a good pedal wrench. And we'll get a torque meter on that in a second and show you. And ensure your pedals are lit by turning the cranks before connecting them. After 5 minutes of inactivity, they automatically switch to sleep mode. Again, all good. Let's get these connected up. Register your warranty. So extended warranty to 3 years. That's a nice warranty for a power meter actually. Exclusive access to the trust agreement program for replacement in case of a fall. Interesting. I'm going to look more into that. I'll get back to you on that. That's something that's really interesting I wasn't aware of. And access to early information, because of course they want to send you lots of marketing as well. Got our proof of purchase, and I have to say we did actually buy these. Like almost every bike shop, they have access to buy and look pedals, and we've just bought them from our supplier. So there's no thing here. You can take a picture with the app. That's pretty cool. And use that to directly upload your warranty information. Cool. So what have we got here? Battery level. It's saying that the battery level is full. Software version 1.01. Let's see if there's a software update. So now we're in. We can see some of the key stats here. The serial number, the AMP+, software version, battery level. Actually showing that this is fully charged batteries, even though that's not quite flashing green just yet. Signal, dual mode, as in dual sided mode, and the bike and the crank length that we're going to be fitting this to as well. So travel mode, I'm presuming. Yes, this mode allows you to put your pedals into a deep sleep and save their battery, for example, when you're traveling. So this is actually something really key to remember, because if you are traveling, flying or driving a long distance with your bike, it will pick up on the motion sensors and it will just keep your power meter on permanently. So you might have experienced this with Quark power meters, when you just got to undo the battery ever so slightly, just so that it's not going to be constantly on if you're flying, traveling, etc. for hours on end. Wouldn't matter so much if they're just rechargeable like this. And the power meter scale factor, I'm gonna have to do some research as to what that is. I'm presuming that is a 0 offset. So if you feel like they are out of sync with the current another power meter that you use, you can offset it plus or minus an amount. So that's quite a handy feature. I'm pretty sure that is what it is. Start calibration, live data, and remove product. It's nice that you can have the live data actually on your app. That's quite a nice little feature. Bit concerned about this crank length thing not working just yet. It doesn't look like the software download thing is working just yet as well. So a few little bugs potentially in the app, but I think what we need to do is go and get these hooked up to a bike, and I suspect I'll be able to set the crank length through my Garmin. So let's go and find out. So what we're looking at here is a piece of software that we use down here in the studio. It's quite advanced software. I'm just making sure this is all going to pick it up okay. So what we should see is for all my heart rate monitors, we've got this here is the power meter here. So we can assign this to me. Now what this means is that we can now take the power from my turbo trainer and my current power meter and compare the two. What I'm about to do is about to get on and do a turbo training session. We'll get all of the live feed as we come out of it, but we also get the difference in the power meters. We've got the power meter and the trainer power. So this is going to be coming from the Tax Neo. This is going to be coming from the pedals, the torque effect, but also the balance and the pedal efficiency, etc. is all going to come up as well. Let me just get on the bike and just quickly show you what it is you're going to be looking at, and then I'll talk you through the data after the turbo training class. So I find this is a really good way of testing power meters because, one, we have 7 turbo trainers down here. So if one of our Tax Neos goes out, we know about it pretty quickly because they're not synchronized with all the others. We have so many athletes trained down here, we get very, very quick feedback if anything's out. And plus, so many of our athletes have their own power meters as well. So occasionally, in fact, probably once in the last 8 years, I think we've had one Tax Neo go out of calibration. So it does happen, but it's really, really rare, and we're properly on top of it. So I'm normally very, very happy that our Neos are accurate. So let's show you what we're going to see in this turbo class. What you're looking at right now is the difference is the power meter is reading plus 34, but what we haven't done is we haven't done a 0 offset or any sort of calibration with that at all. So what I'm going to do now is use the app and calibrate these pedals and see the difference it makes. And it's going to say, do not move the pedals during calibration. So I'm going to take my feet off them. Oh, now it's giving me the option of crank length. So 170s is what I use here. Start calibration. I'd say it's not the fastest app. It's quite laggy. Calibration completed successfully. Install your cleats. Connect your power to your cycling computer. Let's begin. Okay, so let's see what difference that has made. Calibration done. Let's start pedaling and click up the live data screen. And now we're starting to see the difference over on the screen and the live data starting to come through here on the app as well. Cadence 72, yep, that's all reporting about the same. Current power 57, 56, yep, that all looks good. Now, remember what you might see here is a slight lag in how data is being transmitted. So we have a system here where all of the ANT+ data goes into what's called a WASP, and then the WASP communicates all that data over Wi-Fi into our server, and our computer crunches that and then displays it. So sometimes we get a bit of a delay with stuff, but that delay doesn't tend to happen on the actual data. So when we do actually get the data in a graph format, that doesn't happen. It's normally the delay is in how it actually displays the information, not necessarily how it stores the information. But right now, that is looking very, very good. The thing to do now is to go and get changed and put some proper power through these pedals and see how they do after a good hour's worth of hard use. Just very quickly at the end of the turbo training session. So on the warm-up, these pedals tracked absolutely perfectly. On the actual workout, which was our sort of traditional, the orange bits, the turbo trainer is not in control, not in erg mode, so I'm free to do whatever I want, and my watts get quite erratic because they're really, really hard. And then the green sections is actually mostly rest. So in this quite a challenging environment, because the watts are all over the place, it's really, really right at my limit. We had -13, but on the warm-up it was absolutely zero, absolutely spot on. So when things are in erg mode, perfect. I'm going to go back and look at the results in a bit more detail when I'm not covered in sweat. As you can tell, it's the next morning, I got myself changed, had a chance to go through the results. Now, one thing I wasn't expecting is it actually throws up the spin scan analytics, which is really cool. So if you are using any sort of software that's compatible with spin scan, you are going to get that. If you're not familiar, spin scan is a sort of a software that gives you a bit more pedaling dynamics and tells you a bit more about your pedaling style. So here it's giving me a pedaling smoothness score of 23 on the left, 24 on the right. Power balance 38 for 42. Now this also takes into account any coasting time as well. So you need to add that in with whatever time we spent coasting. And the torque angle, which is one of the most impressive things that it does, because the torque angle, if you take 0 at top dead center and 180 degrees at bottom dead center, then the highest amount of torque in the perfect world would probably be around 90 degrees. So it lets you know how close to 90 degrees you are at the maximum amount of torque being applied to the pedal. So 77 and 80%. That was a nice little pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting to get spin scan analysis out of that as well. So let's jump into the graphs. Now, we split that workout we did last night into two sections. One down here is the warm-up, and up here is the actual workout. Now, there's two distinct differences. The one with the warm-up was all done in erg mode, so that's when the turbo trainer is in control. It's going to hold you to a certain power. And then the other one we did, the blue bits you can see here, that's when the turbo trainer is in control, and everything else is freestyle. It just gave us a 1.5% gradient, and I could do what I wanted. And it was a really, really hard workout. It wasn't trying to be a nice sweet spot, hold a constant power. It was just go as hard as you can. So it was really erratic. Sometimes sat down, sometimes out of the saddle, just fighting for survival sort of workout. So this is what we learned. Now, because I'm coaching the session, there's a little bit of faff at the start. So this is me turning the music on and that sort of stuff. This is me getting off the bike to turn all the fans on. But when it's in erg mode, both power meters track perfectly. Now, they are both in the color purple, which I'll talk you through in a second. It's just an annoyance of our system that we can't change the color of the graphs. Coming off here, this all looks good. Now, these three little spin-ups, we call them, big power spurges, these are out of sync with the workout, mostly because of the system that we use here. We sometimes get a bit of a lag. These are only 6 seconds long, so it's hard for like all the turbo trainers here, all the power meters, all the heart rate monitors, all going through this little WASP here to sometimes crunch that data and get it all back out to the turbo trainers. So if you're not familiar, data comes in there, and then there's various amp plus sensors around the room that then transmit it back out. So when we have very, very short intervals like this, we don't always get, you know, instantaneous like you might expect at home, but you can see that these track pretty well. And almost like every single power meter I know, compared to the Tax Neo, you always get a little offset in how it reports peak power when you first put the power down. This is exactly the same with Quark and Power to Max. Everything I've ever seen, you always get an offset there, normally just in that initial kick. Now, up here, this is the actual workout. This is where it gets a bit more interesting. So this is start off in erg mode. That's all tracking fine. And then this is the first section. Now, let me just find out. The power meter one is the darker purple. So the power meter's overreading ever so slightly here compared to the Tax Neo, but it's tracking it very, very closely. At the end of this, you can see absolutely knackered. I stop pedaling, all the power drops out, come back in here. And again, this one, it gets a bit messy, but again, tracking quite closely. Probably the actual pedals themselves are overreading slightly. And here, where you can see me put some power in at the end, where I'm just going for that really last burst, those last 10 seconds, you get that spike, and that's where we start to see things decouple. At the end too, where I'm really, really tired and I'm really struggling, I'm just getting out of the saddle, I'm moving around, my pedaling effectiveness has probably gone well out the window. This is me just like on the handlebars, right in, definitely hardly any technique at all. And that's where you start to see this decoupling effect a whole lot more, when my pedaling stroke becomes a whole lot more erratic. On this bottom one, on the warm up, there was absolutely no difference. It was zero. The average power difference between it, absolutely nothing. On this one, it showed me that the pedals were 13 watts under what the turbo trainer was reporting. Now, that sounds quite bad. It's more than that 1%, even if you factor in one being 1% one way and one being 1% the other way, still more than 1% accuracy. Which one is right? That's really, really hard to tell. We've normally got a lot of faith in the Tax Neos because it's not working off a strain gauge and all sorts of things happen there. But 13 watts difference, in my experience of all the stuff that we worked down here, is about on par. I wouldn't say it's excellent, I wouldn't say it's bad. Nearly everything in this sort of environment is around that sort of level. So no massive surprises there, I hate to say. Okay, while we're here, I want to talk through one more thing, and that is, if you're using a Garmin, what can you expect when you actually hook this up to a Garmin? Because obviously we are not connecting the Garmin ecosystem up to a Garmin. So let's have a look and see what sort of data we can expect. So connecting up your Look power meter pedals to your Garmin is exactly the same as everything else you've ever done connected up. You just search for it, find it, it asks if you want to add a data screen, you click yes if you want to, and you start it all up. So that's what I've done. And all I've done is open up the normal Garmin Cycling Dynamics. I don't expect this is going to work, but I'm quite curious to see what it does report. So let's give this a bit of a spin. So this is Power Dynamics. Not expecting much of this to work, but just give it a spin. Here we have our main wattage here. We've got our left power phase, right power phase, our average and our max, and obviously our grass. Let's give that a bit of a pedal. So we're not getting the full Garmin Cycling Dynamics experience. I wasn't expecting, but that's what we can expect. Just going to flick through some other power data. No, so we don't get things like times standard, time seated, left power phase. So there's a fair bit of data missing from running the Garmin. Right, test complete. Let's rip these things apart. I really do mean it. I've got the instructions here. I've also got some tools on the desk and I want to talk through it. But first things first, I've already kind of broken them. The little charging thing sort of came apart in my hands. I'm sorry about that. Now, I've already reached out to the guys at Zara Fisher who import these in the UK, and they're sending some new ones out ASAP. But to be honest, it just looks like they haven't been glued. For now, I'm just going to use a tiny little dab of Gorilla Glue just to glue them up. And hopefully that was just a very small production problem. But here we go, impartial reviews. Let's show you warts and all. It's a bit of a shame, but nothing stops it working. Let's take these apart. Now, you don't need an awful lot of tools. So first of all, there is this little cap on the top here. I've sort of done most of this off camera, so you can don't have to sit here and watch me do everything. But this is just a very small pair of Nipex. It really isn't very, very tight at all. So you can just engage this into this cap, and this unscrews quite quickly. And under here, you'll just find a normal 3mm Allen key to undo. Now, before you undo the whole thing, I would just keep it in a couple of threads, because you might just need to tap this out. I've already done it, but you might just need to tap that screw thread just to pop the axle out like that. And then you can remove the rest of the screw. And then this is it. That is quite literally all the internals of your power meter. There's no bearings on that. The only thing that you can change here is the seal here. Everything else is all enclosed. It's a really very, very neat design indeed. That's the pedal body. Now, like all Look pedals, you can change out this carbon plate here and make them easier. When you buy them, it comes with the standard 16, but you can also get a 14 and a 12 as well if you want them to be unclipped fairly easy. I think this is actually okay. I can sort of move this with my thumbs. It's not like it's a really, really stiff system. Let me run you through some really important points in the instructions. Now, I do like Look because they do really make a good set of instructions. A lot of this is all the normal installation nonsense, but I wanted to double check the details about how you tighten them up, how accurate you had to be with that 30 Newton meters. And it says on here, you can tighten them to a torque between 30 and 40. So quite a big range actually. And they've got a nice little fact box here to know 30 Newton meters is the equivalent to a force of 15 kilogram applied with a lever of 20 centimeters. So if you've got a sort of a standard pedal wrench, you could probably hang a 15 kilogram weight off the side of that and get pretty damn close to that torque effect. So that was quite nice to know as well. Well done, Look, for giving us that bit of extra information. There's also some stuff to check on here, and that you've got a 1.5 millimeter clearance between this, because this little section here where it charges and transmits from does protrude from the inside of the crank. So if your cranks run very close to your chain or very close to your chain stays, you might have a little clash where this actually hits the frame. And what they're asking for is a 1.5 millimeter clearance gap. That's pretty important. You can also run this up to another millimeters worth of spaces. So if you do want to pull that Q factor out a little bit, if you need to, you can pull it out by a millimeter. It's all in the instructions. The rest of this is all app stuff, and then how to install cleats. Getting down to the LED color chart, what I like is because it's an LED, there's lots of different modes here, so you know exactly what's going on with your pedals at any one time. So when there's a flashing red, quite literally, these little bits here will be flashing. And if it's flashing red, you've got less than 30% charge. Flashing amber, less than 60. If it's flashing green, you have a fully charged 100% battery. When it's fully charged, it'll just be a continuous green light, so it won't be flashing at all. When you wake them up and you first start to give your bike a spin, it'll flash amber like 4 times. That just lets you know that it's starting to transmit, and your Garmin will now be able to pick up all the data, etc. Pairing mode, when it's pairing, it's a flashing amber for 3 times. Once it's all paired, continuous green light, all these things. And then when you're doing firmware updates, there's various different colors of flashing which give you a big warning, like don't unplug anything, you know, something's updating. The little section on here on power detection accuracy and giving us some sort of caveats, I suppose, as to how accurate you can expect them to be. It does say here that tightening them to 30 to 40 Newton meters is important. Tightening pedals above 40 Newton meters can damage the pedal or the crank threads. That's true of any pedal, not just these. You need to make sure that the crank lengths are correctly installed into either your Garmin or whatever it is, the head unit that you're using. I showed you how to do that with the Garmin downstairs. Dead easy to do. It also says the same sort of instructions as Garmin, etc., that after you've installed them, give your bike a few hard sprints, make sure everything is settled in, and then do another 0 offset. The 0 offset is dead easy. You can do it on the app, you can do it on your Garmin, you can do it whatever. And pedal calibration must be done whenever you change your pedals, especially if they're in a state of sleep in between. So it says on here, if the pedals are being transferred from one bike to another, put them into sleep mode or reset the installation angle from the Look application. The pedals automatically determine the installation angle each time they wake up. If the pedals do not go into sleep mode after being removed from one bike to another, they will not recalculate this angle and power related data will be incorrect. Don't forget to also perform a few sprints. So make sure you just put them into sleep mode. You can do that again via the app. Now, one thing it says in here that might also explain some of the inconsistencies that we've seen downstairs is obviously the most accurate place to measure power is where there's least frictional losses, so right down by the pedal, whereas all the frictional losses that you might have seen from my bottom bracket, my chain, that Tax Neo might account for some of that 13 watts difference that we saw. So that minus 13 watts average that we encountered is probably due to the frictional losses through that system, because we were reading the most accurate one at the pedals and might have been losing 13 watts by the time that the Tax Neo Turbo Trainer was picking it up. That would probably explain for some, maybe not all of those. I can't believe there's 13 watts worth of friction in that system, but there's definitely something in there. It also does say that in real world conditions, it's not uncommon to observe values of plus or minus 2.5% between reliable power sensors from reputable brands. Like I said, the values that we saw downstairs are completely and utterly common, and putting things into erg mode normally zero things out, everything comes out pretty flat. It's only when you do really, really aggressive riding, lots of changes in cadence and sprints and standing, that you start to see a decoupling effect. Other things in here, the software update, the maintenance, and things that really, really excite me as a bike mechanic. Look at this, full part schematic, part numbers, and you can change an awful lot of this. So this is the main body. You can't buy this. If you're buying this, you might as well buy the whole thing. But what you can buy is an entirely new pedal body. You can buy the carbon plate underneath, and yeah, 12, 16 and a 20. So sorry, I got that wrong at the start. So 12 is to go lighter and 20 will go harder than that if you want to. You can also get this little end cap. You can also get all the bushings. You can get the little bearing that's in there. And if you wear it out or crack it or whatever, you can replace the entire pedal body. And of course, you can also get spares of all of these as well, left and right sided, and for the mountain bike one as well. Look at that, you can actually get replaceable cleats, because using metal cleats, these always wear out and you get that bit of play. Also gives you some idea about the warranty. You get the 3-year warranty in there as well, and obviously all the normal compliance data as well. So really, really comprehensive set of instructions, a nice app that goes with everything as well. All in all, I am very, very impressed. It's a real shame that that came apart. I'm hoping that is just a small glitch on the first production run, and they're going to go back to their production and sort that out. Otherwise, it's time to put these back together and give them to Simon, because Simon is going to be running these all season long on his time trial bike. So the next time you see these, it's probably going to be a year later, and Simon can give his opinion on how they performed throughout his season. I think that's everything I've got to say about these pedals right now. So if you like this sort of content, please give it a thumbs up, share it to your friends and all that sort of stuff. Please get down in the comments, let me know what you think of these pedals. How do they compare with what you're running or what you're comparing them to right now? What are your thoughts, especially on the price and all that sort of stuff? I really, really do enjoy reading your comments. And of course, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done already. All right, cheers, see you on the next one.